No problem. So let's start with the session for today. Today we are going to completely focus on Selenium. Right. And in the last demo session we discussed about Python and why do we use Python, what are the advantages and all that stuff. And today we are going to discuss about Selenium. A quick revision, Python is a very dynamic language that we discussed that day. We are able to do multiple things that we are not able to do in other languages like Java and etc. So here we do not have any. Oh, is it okay now, Manik? I believe the background noise is okay. Yes, right. Okay. So coming back, I was telling we discussed about Python in the last demo session. How can we download Python? We discussed about an integrated development environment, which is called as IDE. The IDE that we use is PyCharm. We discussed how to download PyCharm, how to download Python, and all that stuff. Today we will discuss about how to start with Selenium. So a quick revision to download Python. Just simply go to the official website. You simply go to your official website and write download Python. This is their official website, and here you can download the latest version available on your as per your system. If you're working on Windows, you can go download it for Windows, Linux, Mac, or some other operating system. Okay. Your voice is breaking. Is my voice breaking for others as well, or I'm clearly audible? Okay. Um, okay. So just Naya, just try to reconnect once. Maybe there is an internet issue. That's why. Audible, but extra noise also there. I am sitting in a isolated room, I believe, and yeah. Just a second, guys. So I closed my fan now, I believe. So yes. So guys, we have downloaded Python till here. We have worked good. I believe it is not good. It is good now. I believe my voice is clear and audible now to everyone. Yeah. Ritu, please just try to reconnect yourself. It will be better. Okay. So as mentioned already, you can download Python from their official website. You can download PyCharm from their official website. Once you download it, you will be able to work on it. So in the last class, we started with a demo project. This demo project was named as demo 19 April underscore 1. In this demo project, we discussed how can we start with Python. So let's start it from very scratch today, because today we are only going to discuss about Selenium and all that related stuff. Okay. So first thing that I would like to mention is how do we download libraries. Those who were available in the last demo session, can anyone help me with it? How can we download libraries in Python? What is the command that we use here? What is the command that we use to download libraries? Pip install, correct. So then command that we use to download any stuff in Python, we use pip, which is called as Python package installer. So either we can do the same using pip, or we have another option, that is you can just simply go to file, settings. Under settings in your PyCharm, you just simply go to your project. My project was demo 19 April 1. Then you go to project interpreter. Once you land here, you can see all the available libraries, all the available packages. Since we have Selenium, so it is showing you that Selenium is available. Now in case if I want to add one more package here, I'll just simply go to the add icon. I'll write the name of the package that I want to install here, and I click on install button. That's it. That will help you to install the specific library inside your project using a UI, using a user interface. And if you don't want to use the UI, you can just simply type the command pip install inside the virtual environment, and that will work correct for you. That will work correct for you, okay? Till here, things are clear to everyone? That how can you download any library? Till here, things were clear to everyone, right? Okay, no, great. Those who are having any some doubts maybe, or those who are very newcomers, don't be afraid. You guys just simply go through my previous demo lecture video. That will help you guys to recollect all the things that we are going to discuss today. But today everything different will be discussed, so don't be panicked. Just stay calm, okay? So since Selenium is a library, we all know Selenium is a library. It has something called WebDriver. It has something called WebDriver. Now, what is a WebDriver? A WebDriver is a you can say tool which is actually used to locate your elements on the website. Which is used to locate all the elements on the website. Now, what do we mean by the term elements? Now, if you, this is a website which is called python.org downloads. Now, if I go right click and click on inspect. Now here you can see the very first tab that is opened is elements. Now everything mentioned here in the form of HTML is an element. Each of these elements, each of these tags has a specific identification. And we are going to use these identifications, these specific identifications to locate our elements on the website. That is what WebDriver does for you. Is it okay? So the first line that we mentioned was from Selenium. Selenium is the name of the library that we installed. From Selenium, we are importing something called WebDriver. Now, the second most important thing comes that, okay, we have Selenium. Now, boss, I want to execute it on Chrome, or I want to execute it in Mozilla, or I want to execute it on Internet Edge. So, to execute your code on different browsers, I repeat myself, to execute your code on different browsers, you need different drivers. Now, for example, to work on Chrome, you need something called Chrome driver. You need something called Chrome driver. Now, Chrome driver also comes. Let me show you. Now, to download the Chrome driver, you have to just simply go to your help section, go to about Google Chrome. You can see here the mentioned version is 81. Once you get the version, just simply go to the official website of downloading Chrome driver. Simply type Chrome driver and click on it. Now here you can see it simply mentions if you are using version 83, download this. If you are using version 81, download this. So since we are using version 81, I have already downloaded it in the last video itself. So just simply click on it, download it, extract it, and use it. How to use it? Coming back. Since the command that we use to import the Chrome driver is, we write WebDriver dot name of the browser. Now here you can write anything. And now suppose, let me give you an example. Suppose WebDriver, if I write WebDriver dot, if you say if I want to work on Firefox, I can work in Firefox using this. If I want to work on Edge, if I want to work on Android, BlackBerry, and then IE, Opera. So these are the Safari in case you're working on Mac operating system. So these are the options available. These are the options available. These are the browsers available that you can work on using Selenium. And for each and every browser, you need to download a specific driver. Similarly, as the way we did for Chrome, to work on Chrome, we downloaded Chrome driver. Now, we have a command which says webdriver.chrome, and then we write something called executable path. Executable path is an argument. Now, we have to give the complete location where you have downloaded your Chrome driver, so that it can access your Chrome driver from that specific path. Okay. So once we have done this, once this line is clear to everyone, okay, boss, the first line is responsible. Let me write the comments over here so that it makes it easy. So the first line, what is the first line happening? Here we are just opening the browser. Here we are just opening the browser. The first line is responsible to open the browser. Whatever browser you will be giving here, you have to require the specific driver for the same. Now coming to the next line. What does this mean? Driver at maximize window, as the name says specifically. By default, the Chrome browser opens in a minimized window. Now, if you want to maximize it, we can do the same using the given command. So what we are doing here, we are maximizing the window. Okay, so maximize window is a command that is used to maximize the window, and then a very important command gets into the picture, which is called get command. Get is responsible to hit the URL. Get is responsible to hit the URL. Using the get command, we actually land on the web page that we have to work on. Okay, so if I save it and execute it till here, if I say run it, you can see the first line is executed, which is responsible to open your web browser. So Chrome browser is open. The next line which I mentioned was maximizing the window. It maximized the window. The third line was responsible to visit the given web page. And similarly that same thing happened in a procedural way. This line opened your browser, then it maximized it, then it visited the given website. So is it clear till here to everyone that what is exactly happening? Is it clear till here to everyone? Just keep on replying me, guys, because I want this to be a interactive session. The more we interact, the more questions you ask will be the more helpful for me as well as you. Okay. Great. So you are saying driver equal to okay. Sampada, the way you're writing Chrome, you have to keep in mind that the C starts in a capital letter. The small Chrome is responsible for operating something different. Okay, so just make some corrections. The first correction is that you have to make the C capital, and the second correction is the spelling. You have made a spelling mistake in this, which is you have mentioned executable path, which is missing an E at the end. Just correct that and it should work good, I believe. Okay. Just make the correction, Sampada, and let me confirm if it's working correct. Okay. So now moving ahead. Now to automate things up, let's take an example of an official website of video automation. I'll be taking an example of the video automation website. So we have to visit video automation. Oh yeah, it's working great. So video automation has a practice website available online. If you go to resources, then you visit practice site 1. Go to resources, practice site 1. Now here we can work on multiple things. Now, right, for example, here we have the given projects. We have the registrations, forms, calculators, checkboxes, banking, and web pages. So for as of now, we will be working on this. We will be working on XYZ bank. We will be automating the banking stuff here. Okay. So the first thing that we have to take care of the URL. So just simply copy the URL and paste it. We have pasted it. Now my flow is, first of all, let's get a handy flow of the application. So the application flow says we have two different types of logins available in the bank. The first login is the customer login. The second login is the bank manager login. If I go to the customer login, I enter my name. For example, if I enter Ron Beasley and I click on login, it shows me that my current balance is something, what is my currency, and what is my account number. Okay. So since one user can have multiple account numbers, so if you want to change, you can change it from here. So suppose Ron Beasley has an account number 1007, which having a balance of 0, and he is also having a account called 1009, which is having a balance of 500. Now in case I want to see the transactions, I can see the transactions here. If I go back, if I want to deposit something, I can click here, I can enter the amount, I can deposit it up. If I want to withdraw something, I can just simply go here, I can withdraw something. And to confirm a transaction, I go to visit the transaction table, and you can see it mentions here, whatever I deposited, it says it was credited. Whatever I withdraw, it says it is debited. Okay, so going back to the home. So today we are going to automate a bit of this bank. So we will be going to the customer login. We will be going to one of the customer. Then we are going to log in. Then we will deposit some amount. Then we are going to withdraw some amount, and then we have to confirm the same using the transaction table. Is the flow clear to everyone that what exactly we are going to do in this first half? Is it clear to everyone in here? Yeah. And the second manager, the second login that is available with us is the bank manager login, which says either you can add a customer, using this. You can open an account with already existing customers, or you can see what are the existing customers you have. You can delete them. You can have perform any actions on them. So we'll come to this a bit later. As of now, let's go for the customer login stuff. So the first thing that we have to take care of the URL itself. So since I already mentioned, this line will be same, since this will be responsible to open your Chrome browser. This line is responsible to maximize the window. This get method is used to hit the given URL. So as of now, if I'll just click on right click and run demo one, you guys can see it will just open. The first step is to open a Chrome browser. Then the next one will be to maximize it. The third one will be redirecting you to a given URL. To the given URL. Is it clear till here to everyone? Do we have access to this URL? Yes, definitely. Every one of you has access to this URL. Just simply go to the official website of V2 Automation. Let me show you it again. Go to the official website of V2 Automation. Just simply go to the tab mentioned resources and click on practice site 2. And click on practice site 2. Once you scroll down, there is something called banking. Click on this and the same URL is open in your own laptops. Okay. Okay, Sampada. So let's move ahead. Let's start with the same. Okay. So now we have done two important things. Three important things. We have opened the browser. We have maximized it. We have hit the URL. Now, as a user, what will I do the next step? Can anyone tell me what will be the next step now? What should I do the next step to start with the automation stuff? Anyone? Now I've landed on this URL. Now what should I do next? I'm just asking it as a common language, common stuff. Yeah, we have to just simply click. Where do we have to click? We have to click on the customer login icon. Whatever I'm performing using my own hand, I want to perform it using automation. That is what the Selenium part hops in, right? Click on customer login, we're logging in my account, correct. So we have to locate elements. The more specific word you can say that we have to locate the elements. Now just suppose now the question comes how to locate these elements. What are locators? So to locate the elements on the website, we have something called locators with us. We have something called locators with us. We have multiple types of locators. The first one is ID. The second one is class. Third one is we have something called XPath. Okay. The fourth one is linked test, and so on. And we have multiple other locators available with us. Now the question comes, how are these what are these locators and what exactly their use is? So as the first locator is mentioned, the name is ID. Now if I right click here, if I go to back to home, if I click on right click inspect, keep in mind you have to click on the on the button or on the element that you want to focus on, or you can just inspect and click on this button and go customer login. Now it says this is the button. It says this is the button which is having customer login stuff. Now how do we locate this button? We can locate this button using, okay, now here it comes, it says you have a class. Here it says boss, you have a class, and you can, as we just read, that we can locate an element using a class as well. But keep in mind guys, a class sorry, the locator class is actually having many duplicates available with itself. I don't know about this one, but normally we do not use class so much because class is having the same class that we're mentioning here, which is BTN, BTN primary, BTN LG, is used in multiple other areas also in the same application. So in that case, duplicacy of elements is actually happening. It means I'm not able to locate a unique element. At the end of the day, my main motive is to locate a unique element overall the complete website. But if I'm going to use this class might have different similar versions of itself. So in that case, we do not use class. ID is something that we use to, you can say ID is something that is very unique in the complete website. That is why the first thing that we always focus is the ID itself. So try to, if you have an ID available as a locator, then we always use an ID. If we have something else, then we go for the next part. Let me see if we have an ID available for somewhere else. So bank manager login is also again a button. Okay, let's take the, let's try to write an XPath for this. Let's see what do you guys understand the term XPath. Hi Rahul. Suppose we traverse in the various links under the XYZ bank deposit withdrawal transaction. How we can locate the element if it consists of dynamic link where the parameters can change. I'm not able to get a question, Kumar. Kunal, actually you're saying suppose we are traverse in the various links under the XYZ bank deposit withdrawal and the transaction. How we can locate the element if it consists of dynamic link where the parameters can change. Yeah, actually we are coming to this, Kunal. We are coming to this. We are going to locate these. We are actually, at the end of the day, the motive is to find the unique elements, to find the unique locators, to find the unique data to locate our elements. Okay. Yeah, I'm coming to this. Okay. So at the end of the day, my main motive is to collect unique data so that I can actually, when I traverse from multiple pages, it does not make any effect on my end-to-end scenario. So let's try to write an XPath for this. Now what is an XPath, guys? Anyone who is aware about it? What is an XPath? Anyone who is aware about it? What is an XPath? Anyone who has heard this term before? Okay, thank you, Deepak. It is a type of a locator. Okay. So have you heard of something called DOM structure? Document Object Model Structure. Have you heard of something called Document Object Model Structure, which is called DOM structure? Yeah. Okay. So those who are not aware of it, so whenever we are there to write in HTML, whenever we write something in HTML, we have to follow some specific rules. For example, the first head is the HTML itself. Then we have a head. Then we have something called title. Right. Then we have a body, and inside this body we might have multiple divisions. In this division we can have a table. I'm just giving you an example. In this table also you can have multiple TDs, which is table data, which is table columns. In this TD you can have multiple, you can have another table or something. So this is a document object structure. That in case if I want to access this element, I have to traverse from division, from then to table, then to TD, and then to table. Are you getting it? So this is called document object structure. So the way we find any element using the DOM structure is called XPath. It's called the X path. Okay. So let me show you with the help of an example. Here in the case, we are saying custom login. Now to write in XPath, we have a specific syntax. We have a specific syntax. Now what is the syntax? The syntax says, boss, you have to start with XPath using double slashes or a single slash as well. There is a difference that I will be covering later in the classes. I would not take care that you have to understand, you have to start it using double slashes. Then you have to give the tag name. Then you have to give the tag name. Tag name is the tag name. For example, table. Table is a tag name. PD is a tag name. Div is a tag name. So once you give the tag name, it says, okay, boss, now give me the attribute. Give me the attribute and the value for that attribute. And the value for that attribute. Attribute is, what is an attribute? Suppose if I am writing table, I'm giving an attribute like height. I'm giving an attribute here, height is equals to 100 centimeters. Right. So height is the attribute here and 100 is the value. 100 is the value. So similarly, coming back, if I want to locate customer login, you can see the tag name. Let me just completely copy this line. Okay. Now you guys can see this is the complete existing line that we have. It says the tag name here is available as button. So if I try to write it, I will be writing double slash button, then double square brackets, then it says give me the attribute. Give me the attribute. Now suppose if I want to locate the element using class, I will be writing at the rate class equal to, now what is the value for this class? The value is given here. I will be copying up this value. And simply provide it here. Now that is it. This is the XPath to locate an element here. Now if I go here, if I write it here, now you can see, now you can actually see the problem that I mentioned to you guys. Here it says button, if I'm trying to locate the element using class, it says boss, you have two matches. This is clearly visible to you guys. It says one of two. It says you have two matches available. If I click on enter, you guys can see the same is toggling above in the screen. It says boss, you have two same classes available in the same button. Now the question comes, boss, how can I uniquely identify customer login? How can I uniquely identify customer login? Now to do that, we have multiple attributes and properties of XPath, where we will be discussing them when we will be dealing with XPath lecture. As of now, if I say button, okay, so I am saying, okay, which contains the text. If I say which contains what? Contains the text. What is the text? I'm saying customer login. I say customer login. Now you can say it says one of one. It says one of one. Let me explain it to you, this XPath. If I click here, so similarly, so for the first one, what was exactly happening? I was not able to locate the element using the attribute because this attribute was not unique in nature. So what exactly I did, I used a function of XPath which is called the contains function. Now this contains function takes multiple attributes. For example, if I say text. Now if you go to this line, which was the button one, the line to copy. Now here you can see that there is a text mentioned, which is called customer login. So I'm going to identify this element using this customer login text. Since this is going to be unique in the complete web page, right? So I simply write contains text customer login, and it says boss, you have one of one. You have one of one available. Is this clear? How did I locate an element in this web page? Is this clear till here to everyone? Is it clear till here to everyone? Raj, Sampada, Manik, Priyanka, Nair, everyone? Okay, great. Yes, partially what exactly not hitting the spot, Priyanka? Where exactly are you getting some issue? Be free to question me. You can ask me the question, Priyanka. Till that, let's move ahead. Okay, so I'm going to copy this XPath over here. I'm going back to my code. Now we know that we have the locator. We know how to locate this element. Now, what is the next step? Next step is to locate the element. Locate the element. Okay. As we have two paths, so which one is the X path for us? So Priyanka, don't get confused. So whatever we write here, whatever we write starting from double slashes is called an X path. So both of them were X path. Both of them were X path, but they were not unique for us. They were not unique for us. Unique for us means I want to uniquely identify customer login so that I can click on a single element, right? If there will be multiple elements, my my program will not be able to identify where to click. That is why I want a unique element. So everything you write here is an XPath, but your motive is to find a unique XPath. So we written contains text customer login. So this is also an XPath, but this one is unique in nature, which is only responsible to click on customer login. Okay. Yes. Coming back to the code, now it says the fourth step is to locate the element. How can you locate the element? I will say driver. Now every time you have to write the driver because driver is the web driver what is exactly holding everything with itself. It sorry. Now since we have an XPath, so it says we have an element called find. We have an element called find. Function called find. So I'll be saying since I'm using an XPath here, I will be saying find element by XPath. As you can see, let me show it to you again. It says find element. Now you can find element using XPath by name, by ID, by class name, by CSS selector, link text, partial link text, tag name. These all are the locators. These are all are various types of locators and nothing else. Okay. So right now let's focus on the term XPath. Now here I'm going to copy and paste my complete XPath that I have worked on. I will be giving single here. So I have located my element. Let's start from the very start. The first step was to open the Chrome browser. The next step was to maximize it. Third step was to visit the given website. Once you visit the given website, now you can actually locate that element. Now what to do after locating it? It says, okay boss, I am able to locate it. Now what action do I want to perform here? I want to perform a click operation. Right. So right now I'm taking this inside a variable called customer login. So I will be writing something like customer login equal to this. Then I will say customer login dot click. Customer login dot click. So what exactly we are doing? Locate the element and perform click operation. So a quick recap. The first thing that we did here, we find this element using the locator called XPath. We mentioned the given XPath which is unique to find the element. We said we're taking a variable called customer login, which is getting all the details, and then I'm saying customer login there dot click. Customer login dot click. Now if I try to execute it, run, you can see it. The first step, it opens your Chrome browser. The next step will be maximizing your window. Once it maximizes it, it moves to the given website, and you can see it was a very quick action. It clicked on customer login and you land on the customer login web page. You land on the customer login web page. Okay. Is it clear till here to everyone what exactly is happening? Any questions still here to anyone? Yes, Sampata, definitely. Following, preceding, last, all these things are will be definitely being covered in advanced expert stuff, and we are going to cover these things as well. Can't be typed directly, can't be typed directly type just check after the find element line. We can do that, Nair. We can definitely do that, but just to make the code more readable. So I have mentioned inside a variable and click, then we are using the click function. We can perform it directly as well. It will not be an issue at all. Okay. So just to avoid, just in case to avoid the code readability, just to make the code readability more better, I mentioned this inside a variable. Otherwise, you can directly do this by the end of the function. If you go here, if you write dot click, it will work. It will work. So just to make the code more readable, I said we are going to take it inside a variable and perform the operations. Okay. Now, now since we are actually executing a code multiple times, if I go to my task manager, and if I go to detail, here you can see there are multiple Chrome drivers already running. Since we have disconnected with the Chrome drivers already, so we open a program, open a browser, it executes it, and then we close it. But we do not close the Chrome driver. So what exactly happens if we execute it again and again, there will be multiple instances of Chrome driver which actually crash your Chrome browser. So to avoid it, what we can do, as of now, we will be going to kill the task. As of now, we are going to kill the task right now. So end process, and end process. So to avoid this, what we exactly are going to do is we are going to use the quit method. We're going to use the quit method. Quit. So I'll say the last line of the code is to quit. Is to quit the Chrome driver. How can I do this? I'll be simply writing driver dot quit. So the next time I'll be executing it, it will not leave an open instance of Chrome driver. It will automatically close the Chrome driver. Okay. So now let's move ahead. We clicked on customer login. Now please move the left panel in short bit. Okay. Okay, is it okay now? I made the font a bit larger just because of you guys. If you want me to make the font small, it will be very small actually. So there are 3 versions available: small, medium, and large. So this was the medium one that I'm working on. Okay. But if I try to change it, let me go to settings, editor, font. Right now we have 20. I can make it as 15. If you guys want it, apply. Okay. So is this better or the previous one was better, guys? Whatever you guys say. Should I make it back to 20 or is this okay? Previous one, I believe, because that was more visible. So going back to settings, let me make it back to 20. Yeah. So coming back, I'm saying, okay, I have logged in, clicked on the customer login button. Now the next thing is, I want to select the user. Now this is the drop down if you guys see carefully. This is a drop down in Python. This is a drop down I mean in HTML. Okay. Now, how do we deal with drop down? So to deal with drop down, we have different library in Python, which comes with the Selenium package itself. So we will be writing from. Now, if you go here now, if you can see also, if you try to inspect it, it says all the drop downs in the HTML comes under the select tag. All the drop downs in the HTML comes under the select tag. Now, to operate the select tag, we need to use a specific library, which is called from selenium.webdriver. Then we have something called support, Selenium WebDriver support.ui, import select. Now this select is the same select keyword that we are actually using. Now I'm writing the next stub line here. How can they use it? We will be using it directly. I'll be saying, okay boss, we have select here. Select is the class that we just imported. Select what I want to select. I want to select an element. Which element? I want to access this element. I want to locate this element. How can I locate it? Now, if you guys can see, there is something called ID available with us. So I will be locating this element using ID. I will be locating this element using ID. Find element by ID. I will be passing the ID here itself. Now it will be actually directly locating this select tag with a given user ID. I'm taking the select tag inside a variable called option. Inside a variable called option. Okay. Now if I say, okay boss, whatever option I'm getting, I want option to select them option by value. Now if you see for the select tag that you meant, let me expand it. For the select tag, you have options available. You have options available inside your elements. For if I want to select Ron Beasley, if I want to select Ron Beasley, it has a value. It has an attribute called value. So the same attribute I'm going to use here is called select by value. So the value that is available here is 3. The value available here is 3 that I want to select. I want to select Ron Beasley. So I'm going to say value equal to 3. Okay, is it clear till here? Didn't understand the select which you added. Okay. So see Raj, if you go to the web page, if you land on the web page, whatever drop downs you have, these drop downs comes inside the select tag by default. Now to locate the elements inside a drop down inside the select tag, we have a function called select inside Selenium by default. So select is the function which says I want to get an element. Now since in this select we have an ID as a locator which is unique to the complete web page, I will be saying okay, for this select tag I want to select a select drop down which having an ID called user select. Now since this drop down has multiple options available with us, so I will be writing okay, I am taking this stuff in option. Okay. Okay, is it clear this time, Raj? Now the next thing I'm writing here is option dot select by value. Now if you see inside the select tag, you have something called options. You have multiple options available and for every option tag, you have a value. For every option tag, you have a value that you can use to select it. So I'm writing okay, option select by value. If I don't want to select it using the value, I can also do it using select by visible text. Now what is the visible text? This is the visible text. Now suppose I want to select the drop down with the term Ron Weasley. I can do this here. Now if I say okay, option I want to select it by index. Index means this is the index 0, index 1, index 2. So I want to select it using index 3. So it will be selecting something else. So we can select the element from the drop down using these three available options. Either by value, either by visible text or by index. Okay. Is this clear this time to you, Raj? Yes. So any drop down you have to use the select function. inside the select function, you have to give the locator. Now, since this is the locator, complete locator, and once you give the locator, you can access all the options directly. You can access all the options directly. Praveen, is your query also clear? How can you identify the elements apart from the value? We can do them by visible text and by index. We can do the same by visible text or index. Is it clear to everyone that what exactly is happening in the picture? Okay, now if I try to execute it, so it opens my Chrome browser, it maximizes it, it moves to the given web page. Once it moves on the given web page, it will try to find the element. So yeah, so you guys received an error. Which says message no such element unable to locate element. Can anyone tell me why are we receiving this error? Since we do have an element called customer login, but still it says there is no such element exception. It gives me an error. Okay, there is a no such element available with us, which is having an XPath, this. But if we try to locate it, it is available. Can anyone tell me the issue here? What exactly the issue is? Why are we getting this error? Correct, Manik. It's the weight issue. Correct. So this is something which is very common for all of us. Now, how to deal with it? Now, the thing is, now suppose Selenium is a type of a tool which acts in a very quick seconds. It actually does not wait for anything else to load in the page. It says, okay, the moment it opens the browser, it tries to access the element. If it does not find the element, it raises you an exception. It says, I am not able to find the element. So that it does not exist any element which is having a locator or which is having an XPath of this thing. Okay, so since I want, okay, this element can take time to load in the web page, I want to wait Selenium. I'm saying, okay, Selenium, wait for some time unless or until this element is available with us. This element is available with us. Now, how can we use the wait stuff here? How can we ask Selenium to wait? To make this thing wait, we have something called WebDriver wait. So we have to import it again. We will be writing from selenium.webdriver.support.wait. Import WebDriver wait. Now WebDriver wait is again a function, guys. WebDriver wait is again a function which says, okay, I'm giving the driver here. This is the Chrome driver, and I want it to wait for 20 seconds. I want to wait it for 20 seconds. Okay, so I'm saying this is the function called WebDriver wait, which takes two arguments. The first argument is the driver itself, which is the web page, and I'm saying, okay, wait for 20 seconds. Now we can have conditions. Now my condition was I want to wait unless or until this locator is available. Now how to deal with it? I am taking this inside a variable called wait. I can write wait dot. I have something called until. Until is the normally we say in English, wait until this is done. Wait until customer login button is available. Right. So similarly, we can write the stuff in Selenium as well. How can we deal with it? We can give multiple conditions. So before that, we have to import something else. What we have to import? We have to import from Selenium.WebDriver. There can be multiple conditions. So to import all these conditions, we will be writing .support import expected conditions. Expected conditions are the list of the conditions which are available with us. So if I come here, wait until, I'll be writing wait until an expected condition is met. wait until an expected conditions is met. Now what expected conditions? We have a list here. Now I want to wait until the presence of an element is located. I want till element is invisible. I want till alert is available. I want element to be in a specific state. I want to wait until an element is selected. I want to wait until an element is clickable, and so on. So I have multiple expected conditions. So I'm saying, okay, wait for the element presence of the element located. Okay, is it clear till here? Is it clear till here so that we can? I'm not. If not, I can tell it again. Is it clear till here to everyone? Okay, okay. So now let's continue. Now the next thing that we have to write here is we are writing wait for the element located, wait for the presence of element. Now what the next thing is, we have to give the locator also. For what locator you have to wait? For what locator you have to exactly wait? Okay. Now here to give the locator which is available with us is the button itself. So I want to wait for this button to exist. I want to wait until the presence of this element I'm writing the presence of element located. I want to wait until the presence of this element is observed. Okay, so to do this, we normally we locate an element called with a driver function itself, which is the find by elements. But when we use wait, we use a different function. That's the syntax. We say selenium dot webdriver dot common dot by import by. Let me show you. I'll be saying locate an element, presence of an element by, I want to locate an element from X path. This is the same thing. I want to locate an element using the X path. Now I can here simply copy this X path. I can simply copy the X path. Okay, sorry. Copy the X path here and give it here directly and done. So my statement says, okay boss, wait for on the web page for 20 seconds, and we have a condition that wait till the presence of an element is located by using an XPath called this. Now if I again execute it, the first thing is it will open the browser. The next step is it maximizes it, it removes the web page. Now it waited. Now if you go back, it says, okay, we have an issue here. It says str object is not callable. It says, so we have an issue with the wait statement. Now let's try to resolve it. Anyone who can tell me what is the issue here? Anyone who can tell me what is the issue here? Anyone, any guesses will work as well. Just look on the line and try to tell me what is the issue here. Okay, let me try to do something. That's what I just give me a second. Let's re-execute it. It opens the website, and again it is giving the same error. It says wait until, okay, string object is not callable. We are doing something incorrect, guys. Anyone who can help me with it? Any random guesses, guys? They help, trust me. Where actually are we doing it incorrect? XPath in capital, yeah, that is okay. That is sure. That is working. That is the syntax available with us. XPath has to be in capital. but it says something different. It says string object is not callable. I don't know why this sometimes behave unexpected. Okay, no problem. Let's try to do something else. Have you heard something of something called implicit wait? Anyone? What is an implicit wait if you guys have heard it? And what is an explicit wait? What is an implicit wait and an explicit wait? Anyone? Anyone who have heard about it? Implicit wait. Okay, implicit wait operates on all elements. Okay. Can you give me an example also, Raj, Nayan? Can you comment line 17? Commenting line 17 will not be a solution. Let me try to correct it up. Yeah. Explicit wait operates any particular conditions. Correct. So let me try to make some modification. Might be we would be doing something different here. Inverted comma should be closed before the big brackets. In this example, we are using explicit wait. Are you coming to this? Right now, if I try to use, I think there's an issue with the Selenium library, this expected conditions library. If I'm, in case of this, if I will be using another one, which is called expected, we have something called expected conditions. Also, if I try to import it, more actions. Okay, just give me a second. Wait dot until expected conditions. I don't know what the error is. Please correct me if I'm wrong. In this example, we are using the explicit wait here. Okay, let me comment it off here. Let me write the implicit form for you guys. I think that will be better. For that, you can simply write driver dot implicitly wait how many seconds I want to wait. I want to wait for 30 seconds. Now this one is the simpler one, right? If I try to execute it now, it will execute it simply. But I was just guessing why was I getting the error for that, because I executed it in a few minutes back. It was working fine. Maybe we have some other. Okay. Right now, let's take the implicit wait with us, not to waste our time. I'll come to this about why was it not working. So guys, there are two types of waits available with us. One is the implicit one and another is called the explicit one. Now what is the difference? The difference is the implicit wait actually waits for the complete web page. It does not wait for a specific element. It waits until all the elements on the given web page are available. That you can call simply, Python gives you an inbuilt function called implicitly wait, and you can give the seconds. So I want to wait for maximum 30 seconds unless or until all the elements on the web page are located. Once they are located, move ahead. So this is what implicit wait means. In case of explicit wait, if you want to wait for an expected condition, the thing I mentioned here, so if you want to wait for a specific condition, in that case you have to use explicit wait. Okay, right now I'm using implicit wait, and let's move ahead. Is it clear till here to everyone? Let me re-execute it and you can see it should be working fine. Since Selenium is going to be very fast, just keep your eyes here. So it opens up, it maximizes the window, it clicks on customer login, it selects the given value. It selects the given value and it stops. Okay. Now the next thing that I want to perform here is the next thing I want to perform here is, so suppose I selected Ron Beasley. I selected Ron Beasley. I want to click on this login button. I want to click on this login button. How can I access it? I can simply go to and inspect this element. So it says that it is not having a specific ID. So what we are going to use here, we're going to use the XPath for this. How can we write in the XPath? Button contains text. I'm going to simply write here login. You can see we have obtained an XPath. If I go here, after selecting the line, if I say driver dot find element by XPath, okay, dot click. Now before this also I'm writing driver dot implicit wait of 10 seconds because this is actually visible after selecting the code. Now if I again re-execute it, you can see it opens a browser, maximizes it, moves to the given web page, clicks on customer login, select it, click on the login button. Is it clear till here to everyone? No, my screen is not lagging. I was speaking ahead actually. Okay, right. Is it clear till here to everyone? Is it clear till here to everyone? What exactly we are performing operations here? I want a thumbs up from everyone. Priyanka, is it clear to you as well till here? Priyanka, Kumar, Kunal, and Manik, Sampada. Okay. Great. Yeah. Priyanka, do you have any questions? Or is it clear to you as well? And other attendees as well. So how many attendees do we have? We have 18 attendees. So Sumit, Tajinder, Vikas, is it clear to you all of you as well? Praveen, PK, Harbans. Okay. Let's move ahead. Let's move ahead. Now the next thing is when the moment we click on the login button, let's move ahead. What is the difference between the close and the quit method? So the close method is actually used when you have to close a window. Now there are 10 windows opened in Selenium. Now if we take an example here, there are 10 different tabs available inside a Chrome browser. Now I want to close this browser. So I'll be using driver.close. In case I want to quit this browser, I'll be using quit.browser, which will actually end the complete browser. So that is the only difference between close and quit. Okay. So close is actually used to close a specific window, close a specific tab inside a browser, and quit is actually used to quit the complete browser. Is it clear now? Okay, let's wait for her response. Now the moment we click on the login button, I want, since this is having a balance of 0, I want to deposit something. So I will be coming here, I will be saying inspect. I want to inspect deposit stuff. Okay. I want to inspect the deposit button. If I click here and open it, so I will be saying deposit. Okay, now we have a unique XPath again. Just Control C. After this, again I will be saying, okay, driver, wait for some time because we are moving from one screen to different screen. Wait for 10 seconds. Again, driver dot find element by XPath, get the XPath. Once you give the XPath, simply click here. Now if you click on here, we have a text box. If I go to the text box, inspect it, This text box is again not having any type of mm, unique attribute. So in this case, I will be using the attribute called placeholder. So I'll be saying input. Input is the name of the tag. Okay. The tag attribute we're using is called placeholder. You can see here, it simply mentions it here, placeholder. The value for placeholder is amount. Now this is a unique XPath. I am going to go here. Okay, I also want to click here. Simply go to driver dot find element by XPath. This is the XPath. Now I want to enter some amount here. So not able to see your PyCharm screen. Why, guys? Is my PyCharm screen available? Is this displayed to everyone? A quick reply. I'm on my PyCharm screen. Is the screen visible to everyone? So what exactly we did was we were on the website, bank's website. We were just sitting on the deposit icon. We want to enter some data. Is the screen and the voice clear to everyone now? Okay, clear. So coming back, the moment I hit on the deposit icon, I want to enter some data here. If I suppose I want to enter 1,000 or something. Now since this is a type of a text box, if you guys see, this is a text box. In this text box, whenever you want to enter some data, we have a function called dot send keys. Dot send keys. Send keys means send the keys of your keyboard. Now suppose I want to send the keys as 1,000. I want to send the keys as 1,000. So it will simply enter the data as 1,000. And after clicking and entering the data, I want to click on the deposit icon, deposit button. So for that again, I want XPath. So let me write it here. Now this XPath is having two different values. So let us group this element. So we are grouping this element by parenthesis, and I'm saying I want the second one, and I'm saying I want the second one. Let me explain it to you. Am I audible to you guys? Am I audible to you? Everyone else? Priyanka, Raj, Sampada, Raj, yeah. Deepak, can you just disconnect yourself and connect once again? Okay. So you have to just simply click on the deposit button. Now I have find a unique XPath. Let me copy this. After entering the keys, I'm saying driver dot find element by XPath, and I paste it in. And this. Now if I execute it, run demo. So it works as expected. Open the Chrome browser. It is now maximize the window. We're going to land on the given URL. Okay, I'll explain it to you. Okay, so something happened we have not noticed. So Raj, you're asking what is the number 2. So see, since when I was locating my elements, you can see I was having two different elements with text deposit. So again, I was stuck between the confusion that how to locate the deposit button that I want. So for that, I simply said I want the second button. I want the second result. So in that case, it says, okay, boss, since you want the second result, it is showing you a unique XPath. This is called grouping of elements. This is called grouping. Yes. Okay. So let us execute it again since we missed it. What exactly happened? This is a very fast action. So let's see this. It hit it, it opened the website, Ron Weasley login deposit, clicked on the deposit icon, and it is working perfect. Okay, so this is the way we can actually perform our automation stuff. Now let me show you some important things. We're not going to automate this thing more ahead because I want to tell you more important stuff. Now in this course, we are also going to discuss about something called PyTest. PyTest is a testing framework. PyTest is a testing framework which is actually used to test your data. So PyTest is a very strong framework that we use. We can install that framework from the same thing, settings. Am I audible to others? Am I audible to others? Sampada, Raj, Harbans, Priyanka, Manik. Okay. So, Deepak, can you just disconnect yourself once again and connect because everyone else is able to hear me. So, Nayyar, you are asking the question, why are we using implicit weight again and again since we've defined the once applied for all elements. So, see, Nayyar, the thing here is whenever you switch from one window to another window, from one web page to another web page, you need to define the implicit weight. Now, if we come here, the first time we used the implicit weight, was for this home button. Now the second time I clicked on customer, now the URL changed. Now the website changed. Now if I click on login, again the URL changed. I'm performing a different operation. Every time I move from one window to another window, I have to wait for the complete elements to be loaded. That is why we are using implicit wait here. We also have something called wait for the page to get loaded. That we will be discussing later in the classes. We have to create our own functions in that case, and we can actually ignore this functionality. So that is a completely different formula. Yes. So in the short form, if I say the screens are getting changed. Okay. So coming back, I was telling you guys about something called PyTest. PyTest is a very strong framework that we're going to use here. How can you download it? Project, interpreter, click for the plus icon. Simply write PyTest. PyTest is a testing framework that we're going to use here. Install packages. So once it gets installed, we will be using it. Yeah. So I guess it is installed now. Yeah, it says package installed successfully. Click on the plus icon. If you see, all the required library package is installed now. Okay. Now, if you want to execute it using PyTest, PyTest has some predefined rules. So the first rule that is mentioned here is it says I cannot execute any file which is starting from demo or something. It only executes all the files which starts from something called test. So I have to rename my file. I have to say test underscore demo underscore 1.py because I have to mention all the test cases from test. Only then my PyTest will be executed. Now if I go to my terminal, the command to execute PyTest is simply write PyTest. Then we have to give the file name. If I write test demo 1. So what exactly it gives us? It gives us so much information. It gives us multiple informations. So it started executing it. The same thing is happening. Once it is completed, it says, okay, it says no test ran in 15 seconds. So it was not able to collect the data. So we might have done something different. So what exactly I want to show you here is that PyTest is a type of testing framework which will be used, which will be giving us very much important information about our data. How many test cases are passed, how many test cases are failed. If you want to skip some test case, how can you create your own test scenarios, right? How can you actually change this thing? How can you start means there are multiple functionalities that a test case can perform, right? Is it like TestNG? Correct. You can say, Manik, this is a way ahead TestNG. This is not similar to TestNG. This is far better than TestNG. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. We do have annotations here. We have multiple annotation dependency. We have then descriptions. So once we can order something, we can create our own annotations here. The best part here is something that we can create our own annotations. We can group our own. Okay, let me show you a previous example. Let me show you an existing project that we discussed in the last UI automation session. Let me open a project. Open Sense. Suppose we discuss Python basics is the name of the project. Yeah. Let me open it in a new window. Yeah, here you can see. You can see we have written so many test cases. Okay, and we will be discussing about something called fixtures. Fixtures are the best part of PyTest testing framework. So a fixture is something which is actually helping you to execute something before a test case and after a test case. In case if you want to do something like that, you have fixtures, you have your own annotations like dependency, you can skip your test cases, and you have multiple other things. So these are the things that we discussed in the last UI session. So there are multiple projects that we have discussed. So similarly, we will discuss the same here also. So we also have reporting things. Let me show you another project. This is the robot framework project that we are actually doing. So this was a project that was in the robot framework that we discussed in the last session only. This is completely written in robot framework, strategies, test cases, reporting, and everything. So we are going to cover all of these things. We are going to cover robot framework, BDD framework. We have let me show you a project with BDD framework as well. Yeah, here it is. So this was a project that we done when we were discussing the BD stuff. So there were multiple other projects that we are dealing with, data-driven framework, BDD framework, and yeah, so many other things. Then we have Allure reporting as well. Let me show you something called Allure reporting. What is Allure reporting? The reporting that we're going to use up here, I have just written a very simple example. Let me go to the terminal and say PyTest. PyTest is the command. Allure dir is the command that we use for Allure directory. Let me copy this. So we have a folder called reports. I am copying the path. Let me copy the path. Okay. And I also want to execute test case 1. Now it's simply session, it says collected one item. It opens the website, performs some operations. Okay, and done. I've not used the quit method here. It says string object is not callable. The issue with the data here. So let me show you how can you open the report. So for that we can have a command called allure serve, the same location, enter. Allure is the type of the reporting that we're going to discuss in Python PyTest supports. So let me show you that. This is the Allure report that is generated. It says one test case was executed. What were the categories? For this, we received an error which is called str object is not callable. It took this much of time of duration. Do we have a history? No. Do we have a retry? Yes, we retried the same at 9:20 in the morning, and so on. So there are no, we can define our own suits here. All the suits are mentioned here. You can see the timeline, how much time was required to execute anything, what was the behavior, it was broken, and many other things. This is the Allure report that we are going to cover completely in the same given thing. Next, what we are going to cover is we are going to this time I'm going to introduce all the Jenkins and the Git stuff. We are going to add the Git repositories. We are going to set up our own GitLab in our own systems, and we will set up Jenkins as well. So yeah, that is it. I think this seems to be a very great course. If you guys, that's it, I believe. Do you guys have any questions? I'm free to answer. As I don't have much knowledge of Python, so do we start from basic part of Python first, then we move step by step? Correct. We're going to start from the very basics of Python, Sampada, and then we will be going step by step towards Selenium. Manik, you're saying what was the duration of the course and do we have the course content? Yes, Manik, you can ask around for the course content. He'll share it to you via email. And the course duration will be approximately 2.5 months to 3 months. Okay. Yeah. So we are expecting to start a batch from the very next weekend, which is on 2nd of May. Okay, I will be normally working for 6 days from Monday to Saturday, and release the classes on Saturday. Definitely, Deepak, everything is recorded. Everything is recorded. You will be getting all the videos the very next day. So that is not at all a problem. In case if you miss any class, the video will be completely available, and I am available to answer all the questions as well. I need Python to be covered very basic. Raj, we are going to cover Python from very basic. Not at all an issue. Also, we have so many recorded lectures of Python already since we have a current API Python batch going on. So we will be starting Python from very basic. Definitely that much is required for testing. All the classes will be online. Yes, Nair, all the classes will be completely online. Have you fixed the timing of the class? It's very late here. Raj, are you from joining us from outside of India? US. So what is the exact time right now there? Oh, it's two already. It's so late actually. So I'll discuss the same stuff from Rahul once more, but as of now, I think the timings will be 10 to 12, but still I'll be uh, connecting with Rahul for the same stuff. Please also manage the time as per Abu Dhabi. And from Deepak, from where are you connecting us? And Deepak, you're asking, okay, you're connecting us from New Zealand. Deepak, you're asking, do we also teach mobile testing as well? Yes, we have an APM testing course separately. So Priyanka, if you have queries after complete the course, kindly ask. Definitely my students are asking me queries till date. That is not a problem. So I will be taking up with the time. So what will be the correct time all you guys suggest for us to start the class? Should it be early morning, means from 8 to 10? Will it be okay for everyone? Will the early morning class will be okay? If it suits all three of you, Raj, Deepak and Kunal. 12 to 2 will be good, I guess. Okay, 12 to 2, everyone. I believe Raj, will it be okay for you? Okay, we'll see. We'll see. I'll connect it to Rahul and let Rahul decide whatever the timing stuff is. He'll be giving you all of your call regarding it. Okay. So whatever will be the data, whatever will be the timings, you will be updated. What's the fee? Fee will be definitely given. You will be receiving an email from Rahul again regarding all the details about fees as well. So you can register accordingly. Okay. Any feedback for me, guys? If you guys want to share some feedbacks, any change in the strategy that I'm teaching or something, it's always welcome, so that I can take care and improve myself in the from the very next lecture. Please share today's video and code also. Okay, I'll do the same, Sampada. I would really appreciate if you work more on frameworks. definitely we're having approximately covering a complete 1 month working on frameworks only on Deepak. Okay. Any more questions, anyone? Any more questions? Why is Python now in demand as compared to Java? So, Manik, see, nowadays we are all moving towards artificial intelligence, more machine learning, big data. So when these things comes into the picture, we all are like Python is the best language to work on this. So testing in Python also helps us that we can in future go for big data types of testing since we have experience in Python testing and all that stuff. So that is why Python is very much becoming familiar in nowadays, since it is easy, it is good, it is flexible, it gives you so many dynamic nature and so on. So yeah, how many frameworks will we work upon? We will work on BDD framework, we'll work on robot, data driven and page object model. There will be four in all frameworks. What is DEF in the code? DEF stands for definition. This is a keyword Nair which is used to define functions. The similar way that we use void or integer in case of Java, in case of Python we use DEF, which is called definition. Yeah, correct. So any more questions, guys? So any more questions to anyone? Any feedbacks if you want to share, guys, after today's session? Definitely I'll take care of software. But anything else you want to share as a feedback, or it's good to go? So the students we have Deepak, Harbans, we have Kumar, Kunal, Manik, Nair, Priyanka, Raj, Kampata, Vikas. So yeah, that's it, guys. I hope I will be seeing you guys on 2nd of May so that we can start a complete new batch in Python, and the timings and all that stuff will be cleared by Rahul. So that's it, guys, I believe. Okay. So thank you, guys. Thanks all for the patience. You guys can leave the session now. Welcome. Yeah, the video will be definitely uploaded. Thanks for the answer, PL. What are you asking about now? Are you asking a question or something? We'll mail the videos. Rahul will give you a specific email with the links of the videos. You can tell them. Okay. Is this code going to be on GitHub? As of now, not Casper, but we will be starting with the GitHub things and we'll be putting the code on GitHub very soon. Not as of now. As of now, you will be receiving it on a portal which is available on the Selenium website directly. Okay. Yeah. So I hope everyone got their answers. So we're good to end the session, I believe, guys. In case if you guys want to ask something, anything else, just simply you can text me or something. Are you using here any specific framework or just pure Python? Casper, the required Python that is, will be required for your testing will be only covered here. Frameworks like NumPy, etc. will not be covered. We will be only going to cover pure Python, which is the required stuff in testing. Which is required for testing Selenium. That is it. Okay. So, Kunal, you have a question. Dynamic link testing, please. Okay, dynamic links means you have something. Can you elaborate it more, Kunal? What do you mean by the term the dynamic links? Dynamic links for me means with the links which are keeping on changing itself, right? Okay, okay. I'm getting it. So in that case, see what you can do this. The place where wherever a link is mentioned. Now suppose if I have a link at a position A. Now I will be directly refer. I'll not be means whatever. See, whenever there is a link available, there is a tag called anchor tag available, which is backslash A. So then you write the name of the link, and then the anchor tag is ended. So this is how a link works, right? Now this anchor tag should must have a specific unique location. Now once you identify this unique location, no matter whatever link is available inside there, you can directly click in this link. So by using that strategy, I believe you can work on dynamic link testing. Okay. So we have to just find out the unique location for the anchor tag which is available. And once we are able to do this, whatever the core stuff is mentioned inside it will be automatically clicked, no matter what the link is. So if someone changes it or if it remains the same, it will click irrespectively. Okay. Any more questions, anyone? Can I share the code which I have written in Java 8 for your review? Mm, that is in Selenium, right? You are saying, Kunal. You have written the Java code in Selenium, right? Okay, I believe Rahul would be the best person to guide you for Java code. Means since he is a very experienced person for all the Java stuff, so might be he. I am working in Python from the last many years. So if there would be some enhancements in Selenium, I can actually suggest you. But if there is some enhancement in the Java code where you can use a better function or something, I believe Rahul would be the best person to answer that. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, that's it, guys. I believe we are good here. We are all on the same page. I'm hoping you guys to see you next week. What software would you recommend for automated tests? I mean, like HP ARM also. Um, I'll not recommend any software, Casper. The thing is, I'll be only recommending you to use Selenium and Python because using a automated means we have something called Catalan Studio also. Casper, if you have heard of it. Catalan Studio is also one of the same testing software which is actually test automative things for you. But that is of no use because at the end of the day you have to create your own logics and things. So it's better to stay specific on Selenium and Python instead of using any other software. Yeah, because at the end of the day you have a different project requirement. That's what you see, and every project is different. Now, if you automate your things using any automation software like Atlan or something, it will be only using the basic things. It will not be giving you any advanced features or something. End of the day, you have to change the code at your own. So I don't think that makes it better since you have to work for the same thing. So why not work it from scratch where you know everything, right? So yeah, any more questions, anyone? Any more questions, anyone? Okay then. So Priyanka, was it clear to you? Harbans, Priyanka, Deepak, Tanmay. Tanmay, was it clear to you as well? Okay. Okay, guys. Then see you next week. I